Today we're going to look at STAR reading data for the 2017-2018 school year at Oral Roberts Elementary School, and this is for my homeroom class. I want to thank Ms. Frazier for being our paraprofessional who does our reading intervention courses for being a part. Also, Mrs. Keller, who is our parent representative, and my student representative is her daughter, Caitlin. Thank you, Dr. O'Neill, for being an administrator to send in on this presentation for us. And thank you, Ms. Garrett, for agreeing to come today as well. And so we're going to begin. We're looking at the data for reading for third grade, and we're looking at the STAR reading data for Oral Roberts, which is a part of the Pell City school system. And so first I want to give you some demographics. Our school is Oral Roberts Elementary. It houses grades kindergarten through the fourth grade. We have 21 classroom teachers and 7 supporting teachers. Our enrollment this year was down some. We went from having 423 students to 393 students this year. Our population includes 87% white Americans, 9% African Americans, and 4% of students who are Hispanic or Asian. We have 62% of students receiving free or reduced lunch, and that qualifies us to be a Title I school. The STAR data that we're going to look at today, it's a STAR reading assessment. Our students take it at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year. And so this STAR reading assessment, it measures reading comprehension. It also measures achievement and growth throughout the year. And we're able to look at it throughout the year as well as previous years to look at that data so that it can drive our instructions. Our understanding of focus skills aligned with the state-specific learning standards are also measured. So we can use this data to look at, to see where our students are as it is according to Aspire is the test that we used to take. But this year we began doing Global Scholar. Okay, the STAR reading data at the end of the year, it's going to show the oral reading fluency, and that's one thing that we're going to look at, and that's called the ORF, and that's how fluent of readers our third graders are. So this tells you approximately how many words per minute that these students can read. The next thing that we're going to look at on this data report that it shows is the grade equivalency. And this is a norm reference score that's going to tell you approximately where that child is according to grade level. So if you see a child's score being a 4.1, that means that they are fourth grade level 1 month. Or if it shows a 1.0, that would mean that child's grade equivalency is a first grade level. And so that's how you interpret that data. Also, it's going to show us the instructional reading level, and that's abbreviated as the IRL. It's also on this report. And that shows the grade level which a student can understand that the teacher is teaching. So that helps us to gauge it. Sometimes our vocabulary is more intense, and sometimes those students, depending on where they are, they might not be able to gauge or understand that level of teaching that you're doing. This report also shows us the ranking. It ranks all my students from the top student to the lowest student. And one thing that I was very proud of to see that the top student fluctuated throughout the year, because I had a male student and a female student who fluctuated, and their knowledge just blew through the roof as the more they read and the more they became better at comprehending, their STAR score elevated. The data that we are looking at is our STAR reading data, and it showed us that 44% of our students were above average, which means their grade equivalency was a 4.1 or higher, and that was very encouraging. Also, 44% showed intensive, meaning that they were 3.8 to 4.0. And that doesn't mean that they're intensive as strugglers, but it means that they didn't quite make it to the 4.0 that we would like to have at the end of the year. We like for our students to score a 4.0 or higher, showing that they are on grade level or on target for fourth grade. Our 12% of students were below grade level, and so meaning they were below the fourth grade mark, because this is the end of the year. And so those students are in red on our pie chart, and it shows you that their grade level was from a 3.7 or below, and that range went from a 3.7 all the way down to a 0.7, and that 0.7 shows that that child was still on a kindergarten level, meaning before they would hit the first grade level. And so that's something we'll talk about later, because that was a concern. Issues in the classroom, our school system, or our school. 4 years ago, our school system adopted a new reading program, and this program was missing the foundational components of phonics. And so there was no there lacked a phonics program. And so here, that is what created a student achievement gap, because for all of those years, not having a phonics program embedded for those third grade students, this trickled, because not only was it for third grade, but kindergarten, first and second, those grades that feed into third and they get those most important foundational skills, it was lacking. Our system lacked in that area in this new reading program. And so as the years passed, when we adopted this new system, this new program, then our grade equivalency levels show that comprehension struggle, as well as the oral reading fluency. And so also here we look at what else was an issue: intervention. We really don't have a true intervention program, or just a consistent way of giving those students intervention. Sometimes the students who receive intervention are not the ones who truly need it. I think Dr. O'Neill will attest, when they get to the upper grades, they sometimes haven't had those that struggle the most haven't had intervention. They weren't on the list, because sometimes as you pick those students, you want to pick the students who you think will grow the most, and then those students who have not projected growth, or sometimes they slip through the cracks. And so that's another struggle. Another struggle with our system and our school is that we lack the personnel to provide intervention. Ms. Frazier, who is one of our interventionists for reading, she understands that lack of personnel, because she's just one person. And so when you have to spread the paraprofessionals out so thin, then you can't meet the needs of all of those struggling students. The trends that I saw in the data was that 100% of the African American males in my classroom scored below grade level equivalency. And so that's a trend that we noticed, not just for this last STAR assessment at the end of the year, but we noticed that from prior years before, that this trend, these African American male students score below grade level, and that's something that we will have to address in meeting those intervention needs. Also, another trend that we saw was 57% of all the males, no matter what ethnic background, they scored below grade level in the ORF, which is the oral reading fluency. And so their fluency level is not where it should be. Not that they scored below grade level, but their being fluent readers suffered in that area. So that's something we also will need to look at in the future. How can we help these male students be on target for our next school year. The areas of celebration for my class was that 50% of all the students scored above the 4th grade level, and that's something that we celebrated as a school on our awards day, and then that's something that I celebrated within the classroom because those students excelled throughout the year. And then we also had one male student who scored low at the beginning of the year, but has made so much progress. He received an award for the most improved student in reading because he was below grade level but ended the year above in this 50% category. And so that was a big celebration for us. The areas of weakness, students who scored below level came into 3rd grade below grade level. So it's not that they didn't make any progress, but if they came in to 3rd grade at a 2.3, our system likes to look at it as teachers. We need to make sure that we at least grow that child 1 year. So it's not that they didn't make progress, but they are leaving 3rd grade. Those who are not being retained, they're leaving 3rd grade still below grade level, but they made progress this year. And so that's one of our areas of weakness. So that's something we also need to look at. Also, another area of weakness is that our special education students scored below a 1st grade level. And though they are special education students, we still need to look at ways to grow them and see what we can do in order to show growth in their reading, in their phonics, in their fluency. And as we get to talk about the things that we can do for next year, a plan for next year, then we'll talk about that as well, okay? So here's our plan, our next steps. One thing that our school system has done that I talked to Dr. Williams about is Reading Horizons Phonics program has been purchased for kindergarten through 3rd grade. And it's not often that they include 3rd grade because by the time those students get to 3rd grade, they expect them to already have the foundational phonics skills. And so that's one way that we're going to hit phonics really hard this year, starting off with a program. And this program, since kindergarten through 2nd grade, will be using it all over. By the time those kindergarten students get to 3rd grade, we will be able to see the phonics skills and the oral reading fluency. We'll see the improvement in those scores to go up and increase. Another thing is our next steps is to make sure that our students are provided with that Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 as it relates to intervention. They're going to have their whole group, small group, and then some one-on-one time, making sure that we can work it into those students' schedule, even if they have to be pulled out at any time, but make sure that we get true intervention in. And our last thing that we're going to do, the next steps, is the before and after school tutoring help program, which stands for Help Increase Literacy Program. Help Enhance Literacy Program. And this is a program that I started about 2 years ago, pulling 3rd and 4th grade students to stay after school, those students who do not receive intervention during the school day. And we keep them from 3 o'clock to 4:30, and I involve those stakeholders from the community, and they come in and they provide snacks for these children to stay after school, and we've seen so much progress. So we want to make sure that this group of students are those students who are below grade level. We want to make sure that they're included in those pool that the teachers select, because the teachers select the students who they feel will benefit, but we want to make sure that there are no biases and make sure that all students have the opportunity for their literacy program to be enriched. I want to say thank you. Next is a reference slides, and these references are just references that I looked at and how to improve our data for the upcoming school year. So I will say thank you to everyone for taking this time out of your day to listen to me. So thank you.